My name is Keith, and these are my stamps. Episode 20, Ascension Island. Ascension Island is the tip of a volcano rising 3.8 kilometers from the seafloor in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. It's 1,540 kilometers, 960 miles from the coast of Africa, 2,300 kilometers, 1,400 miles from the coast of South America. St. Helena is about 1,300 kilometers, that's 800 miles to the southeast. Ascension Island was named from the day of its second discovery, which was on Ascension Day 1503. Ascension Day is the day that most Christians celebrate Jesus ascending to heaven. Ascension Island is 88 square kilometres, that's 34 square miles, with a population of 806. The administrative centre is Georgetown, and Ascension Island has a hot desert climate with quite a lot of lava flows and cinder cones, and 44 different dormant craters have been identified. Mentioned, Ascension Island was rediscovered by Alphonse d'Albuquerque on Ascension Day in 1503. However, it had been discovered 2 years earlier in 1501 by Portuguese explorer João de Nova, and he had named it Conception. However, it was the Ascension discovery that stuck, and the name as well. It being dry and barren, it remained unsettled, as it was no use for the East Indies fleets. That was until 1815, when Napoleon was incarcerated on St. Helena. So the British stationed a small garrison on Ascension to block any French attempt to release Napoleon, and they claimed Ascension Island for King George III. In 1821, when Napoleon died, Ascension by then was being used as a way station for ships engaged in the suppression of the slave trade, and so the British continued on the island. In 1823, it was taken over by the Royal Marines, and the island was legally considered a vessel. That was until 1899, when it ceased being military only. In 1922, it was made a dependency of St. Helena, and between 1922 and 1964, the island was managed by the Eastern Telegraph Company, which was renamed in 1934 as Cable and Wireless. During the Second World War, the US developed Wide Awake Airfield, and from July 1942, US planes transitioned Ascension Island on their way to North Africa, the Middle East, and Europe. In 1964, the management by Cable and Wireless ended, and the British Colonial Office, took charge of the island. In 1967, a NASA tracking station was built and supported the Apollo lunar landing program. 2002, the first Ascension Island Council was elected, and in 2009, St. Helena and dependencies became the British Overseas Territory of St. Helena, Ascension, and Tristan da Cunha. The stamp issuing history. Well, stamps are one of the main export items of the island. Another one is the sale of the International Internet Domain Code, which is .ac. However, the stamp issuing history. From 1867 to 1922, British stamps were used. From 1922, St. Helena stamps overprinted Ascension. And then from 1924 to present, its own stamps inscribed with its own name. The currency. From 1922 to 1970, the British currency, £1 meaning 20 shillings and 1 shilling 12 pence. From 1971 to the present, the St. Helena pound of 100 pence being used. The earliest stamps I have from Ascension are these, from the third series that were released. The second series that were inscribed with Ascension, the first series were overprinted St. Helena stamps. These are King George V with views of the island from 1934. A similar series was originally released in 1938, this time with King George VI. Each of the stamps has a different variety. There were different printings of the stamps. For instance, the half D on the left, there's a later version from 1944 with slightly different perforations. That's one of the ways of telling. Another way, the 2D has a later issue that was red as opposed to orange. Some of the variations I have found very difficult to tell apart. For instance, the 3D, one of the variations is a lot bluer. I can tell that one. However, there are two variations, the 1940 and the 1944, that to me have the same perforation, the same color, everything the same. I can't see a difference. So I don't know which is which of those two. However, of these, as I say, the half D is from 1938, the 2D, I think, from 1949, the 3D, I'm not sure, 1940, 1944, the 6D from 1944, and the 1 shilling in the bottom right is from 1938. Ascension, along with many of the British overseas territories and Commonwealth countries, released stamps whose designs were common, and especially when linked to royal events. Here we have the Ascension Island versions of, top left, the 1937 coronation of King George VI and Queen Elizabeth. The top right, 1972, Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip's silver wedding, which we've already seen in Anguilla and Antigua. The bottom left, 1978, Queen Elizabeth II Silver Jubilee stamps. The mini sheet originally had a repeat of the three stamps at the bottom underneath the information, but that's been separated before I got them. In the centre, we have the 1985 Queen Elizabeth Queen Mother's 85th birthday commemorative stamp, and the bottom right, 1986, the 60th birthday of Queen Elizabeth II, which is also the most recent stamp I have from Ascension Island. Another non-royal occasion, but one that was used across a variety of stamp issuing entities, is the Freedom from Hunger stamp. If you're unfamiliar with the denomination, the 1'6, that is the way in Britain they used to write 1 shilling and 6 pence. The final two slides show stamps that are actually specific to Ascension Island. This one from 1981, the opening of the second Earth station on Ascension, and celebrating the use by US Air Force of the NASA tracking station during the space shuttle operation. You'll notice on the right, written going up and down vertically, the cable and wireless Earth station. That was the original one, and the second one, it was called the Space Shuttle Earth Station. And finally, this booklet from 1982, the front and inside front cover on the left, the back cover and inside back cover on the right, and then the two panes of stamps in the middle. This commemorates the 40th anniversary of the building of the Wide Awake Airfield, constructed in secret during World War II. And as the story in the booklet tells, the first plane to land, although it was a British plane, was at first fired at as it was unscheduled and potentially hostile. But they realised it was a British one after shooting at it, and all ended well. It landed safely and became the first aircraft to land at Wide Awake Airfield. So these are my stamps of Ascension Island. I'm Keith. Goodbye.